Hello, I'm Dr. Anne Jones, the ABC's nature nerd, and I love nature of all types. But I really like rule breakers, the ones that take your script and goes, yeah, nah. The ones that shouldn't live, but absolutely do.
It's alive! It's alive!
Expect to be impressed and horrified as we count down 5 animals that just don't make sense. You probably know this famous virgin, but do you know this one? Crocodile is the first known crocodile to actually make herself pregnant. I guess we don't know for sure that Crocodile was actually a virgin, but she was living by herself in an enclosure for 16 years. And then she got pregnant. She suddenly laid this clutch of eggs, and that wasn't too much of a surprise because reptiles in captivity sometimes lay unfertilized eggs. But the staff got a torch and they looked through the eggs and they could see that some of them appeared to be fertilized, and that was unusual. None of the eggs successfully hatched, but one of them did have a stillborn fetus, a female. The researchers went in and took a DNA sample from the fetus and Crocodile, and they had a 99.9% match. There was no baby daddy. This was almost a clone of its mother. So how did this happen? Well, normally when a daddy crocodile and a mummy crocodile love each other, the sperm meets the egg. But in this case, it's likely that the egg fused with one of its own byproducts called a second polar body. So it fused 2 copies of the mother's DNA together. It's a process called parthenogenesis. It's a Greek word and roughly translates to virgin creation. Parthenogenesis is nature's last-ditch attempt to save a species. That's exactly what happened to a leopard shark in a Queensland aquarium. She had been in a big tank with a mate, mating away, but then they took the male out and she didn't like that. So, as every empowered woman does, she turned to herself and parthenogenesis to create babies. This mama shark's 3 pups actually survived, and a lot of parthenogenic offspring actually do survive into adulthood because, in the words of the great man Jeff Goldblum, life finds a way. Most creatures obey the laws of physics, but maybe not this one. Yes, the Jesus Christ lizard, or as it's actually known, the Basilisk lizard. They use their back legs in a bicycle-like motion to run on top of the water, which is famously very flimsy. They run fast, like 1.5 meters per second fast. If we humans were going to try this technique, we would have to run at over 100 kilometers an hour. That's not safe in a school zone. Normally, you've probably only seen really tiny little critters on the surface of the water, like the Australian fishing spider, which uses its middle legs to get along on the top of the water, or the insect group water striders. They all use the water's surface tension to stay afloat. But bugs are light, a couple of grams at best. The basilisk lizard is about 200 grams, about 100 times the weight of one of those spiders. That's too much for surface tension alone to hold the lizard up. So the basilisk lizard has had to perfect its running technique. Scientists used a bunch of high-speed cameras and lasers to figure this one out. They noticed that when the lizard's foot first hit the water, it did so with a really forceful slap, like really forceful. And then what happens is an air pocket forms around the foot to stop them from sinking. The same foot pushes through the water, which creates thrust, and this pushes the lizard's body forward across the water. So, big ups to the basilisk lizard for manipulating physics and walking on water. Now all it's got to do is turn the water into wine. Quick quiz. What do cassowaries and hyenas have in common? You're right. The females of both species have penises. Actually, they're pseudo-penises. Pseudo as in fake, but they look completely like the real thing, and it makes telling the sexes apart very difficult. Now, female hyenas are actually able to extend and retract and even make their pseudopenis erect. They also have these sort of flexible spines on the outside. If that weren't strange enough, their pseudopenis is where they give birth. It's a penile vaginal canal, and it's about 2.5 centimetres in diameter. That might be why 15% of spotted hyena females die during childbirth, and 60% of their firstborns are actually stillborn. The later births are a little bit more successful because the canal has sort of stretched out. So, if it's dangerous and a little bit icky, then why would you have a pseudopenis? Well, one of the theories is disguise. You can't tell the difference between a male and a female just by looking at it. And these species are really aggressive. They spend a lot of time fighting and they'll even kill each other. So what you want to do is sort of blend into the background. I'm not even here. You don't know who I am. Another way of looking at it is they've got a massive, ultra-sensitive and powerful clitoris. Usually when animals freeze, they die, but not the wood frog. When spring rolls around, even though there's no heartbeat and no brain signal, the wood frog thaws out and hops off like nothing ever happened. How does it do that? First, let's think about why most animals or humans cark it when they freeze. As the temperature lowers, the water in our cells freezes. That means it expands and the cells actually explode all over the shop. En masse, the cellular damage is all too much. We're dead. In wood frogs, their bodies limit the amount of damage to their cells, and they do that by self-manufacturing antifreeze. When the temperature drops, their livers go into overdrive, manufacturing bulk amounts of glucose. The glucose packs into the cells and lowers the freezing point of the water within. But the water outside the cells still freezes. So that means that it's about 2/3 frozen and 1/3 not frozen, and that's where all the important stuff is. Researchers think that a buildup of urea, which is the stuff that's in urine, is working alongside the glucose to form the antifreeze. In nature, it's all about finding your niche for survival. And if you have to turn yourself into a popsicle so that you can thaw out in the spring and find food, well, so be it. Imagine if you could grow a body part just like that. Well, parrotfish can do that. They also have beaks and poo sand, but we'll get to that later. Many species of parrotfish are protogynous hermaphrodites. Now, protogynous means female first, so they start off as females and change to males. When a dominant male disappears from a group, it can trigger the dominant female to change her sex. Neurons in her brain kickstart a hormonal response, which causes her ovaries to dissolve and she grows testes. As she transitions, she generally gets bigger and changes her colour. And just like that, the she becomes a he and the breeding can continue. And it's not just parrotfish that can do this transition. Heaps of Aussie fish actually do this. Barramundi can do it, and clownfish can too, but they go the other way, from male changing into female. Which, side note, makes me think of the movie Finding Nemo, because when Nemo's mum dies, his dad would have turned into a female and then started mating with Nemo, and, well, it's supposed to be a kid's movie. Anyway, back to parrotfish. Parrotfish are also very special because they've got this amazing beak, which actually isn't even a beak. It's a lineup of teeth, 1,000 of them in 15 rows. They need all these teeth so they can crunch coral all day long. They're after the algae that lives inside. When the coral comes out the other end, it's all chewed up and is basically sand. Lots and lots of sand. It poos sand. So I'll leave you with that thought for your next beach holiday. Well, that rounds out my top 5 rule breakers of nature. For now, anyway. If you've got an animal that you'd like me to take a look at, then leave it in a comment below. And remember to take a look around our channel. We have new videos every week just like this. And you can like and subscribe to ABC Science. See you later.